Jillian Mayen here for BTN.com, joined by Jon Crispin, and we are handing out our mid-season-ish report cards. We're going to say ish just because we're not quite.
Because we'll probably do this in 2 weeks and call it mid-season report.
Exactly. But we have seen quite a bit of Big Ten play, at least enough to formulate some early opinions of how these teams are doing so far. So let's take a look at Nebraska, because Nebraska has been doing very well. They've been hot so far in the Big Ten. They did just drop a game to Northwestern, but Northwestern's kind of one of those surprise teams in the Big Ten. But Nebraska's sitting at 9-7 so far overall. So what do you see from Nebraska that you take away as, hey, yeah, they could continue to do well throughout this season?
Glenn Watson and Ty Webster. That's what I see. I see a backcourt who, I've said this about a few others, but I'd put them up against anybody. They're dynamic, they're versatile, they do things in a different way, they attack differently. Ty Webster's more of a full court guy, loves to get up and down the court, will just attack the basket. Glenn Watson will break you down in the half court, can shoot threes, will shoot the mid-range jumper, get to the basket and finish. He's very creative, which makes him really tough to stop. Beyond that, you have solid contributors. And when you have solid contributors like Jacobson, there's a number of them. I can go through the whole list. I mean, there are a bunch of guys that will come in and make shots, but it all starts with Webster and Watson.
Got to have a base.
Got to have a base. And some bases, like at Purdue, they're big. You know, it's Caleb Swanigan, it's Isaac Haas. Here, it's the little guys. It's Webster and Watson. You go back to some of those losses, too. UCLA, Creighton, Kansas, who am I leaving out? Clemson, Virginia Tech, and now Northwestern. Toss out Gardner-Webb. That's not who this team is. And I really do. I know you're not supposed to throw out losses because every game counts. I get it. But that's not who they are. So I'm not looking at this team saying, well, this team lost to Gardner-Webb, so ho-hum. No, this is a very good basketball team. They won 3 straight to start conference play because they were tested in the non-conference schedule, because they had to overcome the adversity of losing Andrew White to transfer. You get a grad you get him transferring in, you lose him after a year, he grad transfers, goes to Syracuse. Can you imagine that team with Andrew White at the 3, with Webster and Watson 1 and 2? I mean, they've overcome that really well. I credit Tim Miles for sticking with his team, but ultimately starts with Webster and Watson.
So what is one thing that Husker fans maybe should be a little bit concerned about that could be the thing that maybe Nebraska should be worried about throughout the season?
It's what you saw against Northwestern yesterday, which was Chris Collins put Vic Law and Scotty Lindsey, lengthy defenders, on Glenn Watson. So you take Glenn Watson out of the game with length and athleticism. Glenn Watson had 2 points at the half. I mean, that changes the game. So ultimately, it took Ty Webster a few big plays down the stretch and a 14-point run to get the lead at the half. Taking Glenn Watson out of the game is going to be key for every opponent of Nebraska. Now, Tim Miles has to figure out how to make it easier for Glenn Watson when he's got a lengthy defender. Now, lengthy defenders, I'm going to slide my chair back a little bit, they space well. So they can space you out, use their length to take the shot away, but not give up the dribble drive because they're able to space and length out so much. So I love what Chris Collins did, and I think every coach in the Big Ten is going to look at that and go, what the heck was I thinking? I should have done the same thing.
All right, Jon, thank you so much. For more Nebraska news, highlights, and analysis, you can head to btn.com/Huskers.